Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the channel Enigma 2030 Mystery for more thought-provoking documentaries. The year is 2030, a time that once seemed so distant, so futuristic, is now our present. The United States, once the world's undisputed superpower, a beacon of democracy and innovation, now stands at a critical crossroads, a pivotal moment in its history, not because of an external foreign threat looming on the horizon, but because of the escalating battle raging within its own borders, a conflict tearing at the very fabric of society. I grew up believing in the idealized story of America, a place built on unity, a nation where differences were celebrated and common ground was always within reach, strength, forged through collaboration and a shared sense of purpose, and the unwavering promise that anyone, regardless of their background, could thrive and achieve their dreams. But somewhere along the way, subtly at first, that inspiring story started to crumble, revealing cracks in the foundation. It didn't happen overnight, this slow descent into division. It was little things at first, seemingly insignificant moments that in retrospect were warning signs, heated arguments erupting on social media, fueled by anonymity and instant outrage, tense and uncomfortable family dinners, where political disagreements overshadowed love and connection, neighbors who gradually stopped talking, their interactions replaced by silent judgment and unspoken resentments. Then insidiously the divides deepened, becoming chasms that seemed impossible to bridge, crippling political gridlock, rendering the government incapable of addressing the nation's pressing issues, staggering economic inequality, creating a society of haves and have-nots, breeding resentment and despair, simmering racial tension, erupting into protests and unrest, exposing deep-seated wounds that had never truly healed, and the relentless spread of disinformation, conspiracy theories, and propaganda fueled the fire of division, poisoning the well of public discourse. By 2030, that quiet simmer of discontent had violently boiled over, reaching a critical mass. The country became a fragmented patchwork of starkly contrasting red and blue states, each clinging to its own ideology, increasingly isolated urban and rural communities, with vastly different values and experiences, the ever-widening gap between the rich and poor, each side convinced that the other was not just wrong, but the enemy, actively working to destroy their way of life. Trust in government institutions completely collapsed, leaving a void filled by cynicism and distrust. Local militias sprang up across the country, fueled by fear and a perceived need for self-protection. States openly threatened to break away from the Union, pushing the nation to the brink of disintegration. And even the military, the bedrock of national security, found itself dangerously split by conflicting loyalties. This is Enigma 2030 Mystery. People stopped seeing their fellow Americans as neighbors and friends. They saw potential threats lurking around every corner, unfamiliar strangers to be avoided and feared, and dangerous opponents, ready to undermine their values and beliefs. The once sacred American dream felt increasingly out of reach for millions of ordinary people, and the promise of a better future was replaced by a gnawing sense of anger, frustration, and despair. In major cities, widespread protests erupted, fueled by economic hardship and social injustice. In small towns and rural communities, fear of the unknown led to increasing isolation and a siege mentality. But here's the crucial thing. This isn't just a bleak and depressing story about inevitable collapse. It's a cautionary tale about what happens when a nation forgets its founding principles and its shared history, and tragically allows division to triumph over unity and common purpose. America's greatest and most enduring strength was never solely its formidable military might or even its unparalleled economic engine. It was always the fundamental belief that despite our vast and diverse differences we could, and indeed come together in a spirit of cooperation to solve the big complex problems facing our nation. Now, I certainly don't pretend to have all the answers to the challenges we face, but I know with absolute certainty that if we continue to see each other as irreconcilable enemies, there's absolutely no way out of this downward spiral. The real and urgent challenge isn't ultimately about partisan politics or the relentless pursuit of power. It's fundamentally about whether we, as a nation, can find the strength and wisdom to rebuild trust, and rediscover the shared values and common ground that once united us as Americans. Because if we fail to do that, if we fail to bridge these divides, the fall of this once great superpower won't be orchestrated by external threats or foreign enemies. It'll be a self-inflicted wound, a tragic collapse from within, a consequence of our own internal divisions. And that's a devastating outcome that no one, no matter where you stand on the political spectrum, should ever want to witness. So I urge you to ask yourself a critical question. In the not-so-distant year of 2030, what kind of America do you truly want to live in? The answer ultimately starts with each and every one of us, with our individual choices and actions. If you enjoyed this video from Enigma 2030 Mystery, don't forget to like, comment, and share.